Wargaming is a diverse and captivating hobby that allows enthusiasts to recreate historical battles or craft entirely new ones on the tabletop. One particularly exciting subset of the wargaming is Skirmish Wargaming, which offers a unique and accessible experience. In this video, we're going to explore what Skirmish Wargaming is, its key features, and why it's gained popularity amongst wargamers of all ages and levels of experience. Skirmish Wargaming is a subgenre of tabletop wargaming that focuses on small-scale battles involving a limited number of miniature figures, and unlike larger-scale wargames that might involve hundreds of miniatures and represent entire armies or divisions, Skirmish Wargaming typically revolves around small engagements with small squads, war bands, or groups of individual characters. So some of the key features is small scale. The defining characteristic of a skirmish wargaming is the small scale. Battle involves probably only a handful of miniatures, no more than maybe a dozen aside. This is quite manageable scale and makes skirmish wargaming quite accessible to beginners and allows for quicker setup and gameplay. Another characteristic is character-centric. In many skirmish war games, each mina represents a unique character or a unit with its own distinct abilities and equipment and characteristics. Players can often become deeply invested in the fates of their individual characters. Another key feature is the narrative focus. Skirmish wargaming often emphasizes storytelling and narrative elements. Players can create their own scenarios, develop deep background stories for their characters, and immerse themselves in the rich narratives that can emerge from each game. Another key feature is the tactical depth. Despite its being small scale, Skirmish offers plenty of tactical complexity, and players must carefully plan their moves and consider the terrain and make strategic decisions to outmaneuver their opponents. Another big key entry is the low entry barrier. Skirmish Wargaming offers an excellent entry point for beginners, as fewer models, smaller space, and less commitment than, say, maybe a larger war game. There are several popular skirmish wargame systems out on the market that have gained widespread recognition and popularity within the community. Some of these include Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar was introduced as a skirmish scale war game, but there are also, by the same company, Warcry and Warhammer Underworlds, which are small, require less models than Age of Sigmar, and they're a faster game to play. Then you've got Frostgrave, which is a fantasy skirmish war game that kind of bases itself around treasure hunting and wizards, and is generally set in a frozen ruined city. You then have Malifaux, which is a steampunk gothic sort of Lovecraftian sort of world, and it's also unique for its card-based driven gaming. And then you've got Infinity, a skirmish war game, which has really well sculpted miniatures, and it's a fast-paced, futuristic technology, and it's a great game to play. And then if you're looking for sci-fi in the Warhammer world, you've got Necromunda, which is gangs in the hives, in the underbelly of a hive city, fighting each other. So what is skirmish wargaming? Well, and why play skirmish wargaming? It offers a range of advantages and it appeals to a number of different players. First off, its accessibility. It's an excellent starting play for newcomers, but for veterans, it's a good, quick way to play if you've got limited time. You can engage with characters, and skirmish allows players to become emotionally invested in their characters and enhance the sort of storytelling and narrative aspect of gameplay. You've mentioned before, it's quick. Skirmishes tend to be shorter and can be completed in a quicker space of time than a sort of larger war game, which means it's great for limited time. The other one is you don't need as many models, so you don't need a huge amount of space to store miniatures, and obviously painting and stuff like that. It also encourages players to develop their own narratives and scenarios and backgrounds for their characters and warbands. Skirmish wargaming is a captivating and accessible subgenre of tabletop wargaming that has captured the imagination of hobbyists around the world. I mean, there's not only new hobbyists but veterans, and it's because it's quick and easy to play, and less models are required. Terrain, and it allows for sort of storytelling and narrative, that sort of water cooler moments, and it allows you to be a lot more creative in storytelling and stuff like that, and narrative gameplay, and that's why it appeals to a lot of people. But I think that anyone starting off in wargaming, Skirmish Wargaming is an easy entry point for them. They don't require a huge army, half a dozen, 10, 15, 20 miniatures, which means it's manageable to paint. We don't need a lot of storage space. Games tend to be a lot quicker, so in an evening you could probably play 2 or 3 games, whereas if you're playing a much bigger war game, you may only get through 1 game. And if times is one of those things that you're limited by, then Skirmish War Games is a great way to go. And like I said space before, you don't need as much storage space. You don't need a massive gaming table. A lot of them will play on a 3x3 or a 4x3 or 2x2, depending on the scale. So they're great. Not only that, they're great entry points for beginners, or introducing people to into the world of wargaming and sort of into the hobby as a whole with miniatures. So anyway, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.